Indonesia is making strategic move to assert its rights in South China Sea. In this video, we will explore on how Indonesia is leveraging its rights to mine gas from South China Sea and on how Indonesia is making common ground with Vietnam to counter China. Energy activities in the South China Sea have in recent decades been held hostage by disputes over which country has sovereign rights, with work by Vietnam, Malaysia and the Philippines in their exclusive economic zones disrupted by Chinese Coast Guard or marine surveillance vessels. China claims sovereignty over almost the entire South China Sea, citing its own historical maps. Claims that an international arbitration tribunal in 2016 ruled have no legal basis. In 2021, China told Indonesia to stop drilling for oil and natural gas in maritime territory that both countries regard as their own. How Indonesia asserts its rights. Indonesia has approved the first plan of development for the Tuna offshore gas field with total estimated investment of $3.07 billion to the start of production. The Tuna field, located in the South China Sea between Indonesia and Vietnam, is expected to reach peak production of 115 million standard cubic feet per day in 2027. By this step, Indonesia want to send message to China that it is not a pushover in South China Sea, and that it has the rights and determination to contest it. Aside from economic benefits, development of the project would underline Indonesia's maritime entitlements. The Indonesian Navy will also participate in securing the upstream oil and gas project so that economically and politically, it becomes an affirmation of Indonesia's sovereignty, which puts a direct challenge to China in this region. Indonesia is building a regional cooperation in the region to challenge China dominance in South China Sea. There is an ancient proverb, "Enemy of my enemy is my friend." In a strategic move, natural gas that is mined from Tuna field will be exported to Vietnam, who is also one of the party in South China Sea. By this way, Indonesia is engaging Vietnam in a positive and mutually beneficial way. Indonesia and Vietnam have concluded long-running talks to demarcate the boundaries of their exclusive economic zones, EEZs, marking an important step toward the resolution of disputes between Southeast Asian claimants in the South China Sea. Indonesia's President Joko Widodo announced recently that EEZ negotiations had been completed, and an agreement had been signed in accordance with the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. After 12 years of intensive negotiations, Indonesia and Vietnam have finally concluded negotiations on the EEZ. The two leaders also agreed to boost bilateral trade to $15 billion by 2028, up from around $12 billion currently, and to bolster cooperation in the areas of defense, security, tourism, and education. Both the countries now see a larger and powerful adversaries. Therefore, they are in a situation to find amicable solution to their problem and form a region cooperation against China. Establishment of a united front. What is arguably a more pressing question for Vietnam and Indonesia to face China's expansive claims over the South China Sea. The agreement could now encourage Vietnam to broker similar agreements with the Philippines and Malaysia. Thus, an initiation from Indonesia may turn into a mutual regional agreement, and an alliance-like formation against China in South China Sea. Not only this, Indonesia is trying to have mutual cooperation, with Quad formation as well. We will track this development for you. Please subscribe to InfoDocker for many more interesting topics on global and ASEAN-related geopolitics.